Hello, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to listen to us today. My name is Hassan Musaid. I'm a principal solution architect with AWS. I have been with AWS for 2 years now. And before that, I worked with IBM Watson Health, and before that, Philips Healthcare. So my whole experience for the last 20 years is just in HCLS. Arun, do you want to go introduce yourself?
Hey everyone, my name is Arun Ganesan. I'm a senior customer solution manager at AWS, been with AWS for a couple of years, and have experience in strategic consulting for about 17 years in the field.
Nihir?
Thank you, Hassan. Arun. Hey everyone, my name is Nihir. I'm a machine learning specialist here at AWS, focused in healthcare and life science domain. I've been with AWS for about 8 years and been focused in healthcare and life science since then.
Thank you, Nihir. So we have only 20 minutes to talk about some of our purpose-built services for HLS. So I'm going to respect the time, and we're going to stay within 20 minutes, the three of us. In today's session, we're going to be talking about, this is just our agenda, challenges. We're going to be talking about 3 purpose-built services for HLS from AWS. We're going to be talking about HealthLake, Health Imaging, Transcribe Medical, and here we'll be talking about Generative AI for HLS. So those are the services we're going to be talking about. Basically, HealthLake, with HealthLake, you can store, transform, and query health data in the cloud, allowing you to benefit from a complete patient population view at scale using FHIR standard. With health imaging, you can easily store, analyze, and share medical imaging at petabyte scale. And with Transcribe Medical, which is our automatic speech recognition that allows you to convert speech into text, so you can add it to your HR system, or you can do analytics on it. So I'm going to start with Amazon HealthLake. As we all know, healthcare systems produce petabytes of data every day, and the data is growing exponentially. People generate thousands of data points from doctor visits, test results, medical images, weight, steps, telehealth, and other medical or health-related data. The majority of this data is unstructured, like medical notes, and therefore not easy to use or analyze. The process to extract the information is labor-intensive and error-prone, and the cost and operational complexity is challenged for most healthcare organizations. Also, organizations, they have limited resources in order to mine this data and generate some actionable insights to either improve the patient well-being or improve the provider workflows. And that's where Amazon HealthLake as a service comes into the picture and can help you quickly enable those insights and generate generate valuable insight from the data. So HealthLake is fully managed service that enables customers to store clinical data in a standard FHIR format. So basically, let's assume you have HL7, you have CDA, you have other data standards. You can use one of the connectors, convert that data into a FHIR, and you can store it in HealthLake. Setting up a FHIR data store takes less than 10 minutes. Basically, you can go through the console or through the CLI, and you can create a FHIR data store. Being a managed service, healthcare organizations do not need to invest and spend a lot of time trying to create that FHIR server or manage the infrastructure or maintain it or support it or upgrade it. We take all of that on your behalf. Healthcare organizations can spend the time in developing user-friendly, innovative application built on top of HealthLake FHIR APIs at scale. Basically, because this one is for builders, once you have the FHIR server behind the scene, once you have the APIs, you can create the user interface so you can start using the FHIR server. Therefore, this accelerates their time to market with their applications. I remember the old time we used to create a FHIR server from the ground up. It takes months. Sometimes years to create that FHIR server, but with AWS, you can create that FHIR data store using HealthLake within minutes. So how does AWS HealthLake work? As you can see, HealthLake is in the middle and serves 2 main use cases. It is transactional FHIR REST API, and it is also used for analytics purpose. HealthLake exposes FHIR REST APIs for receiving FHIR formats, like a clinical claims, consent, and of course, with the APIs, you can create new resources, you can update those resources, and you can delete those resources. For non-FHIR format, FHIR REST APIs, we have HealthLake partners, connectors that can allow you to convert like HL7 and other data standards to FHIR formats so you can store it in HealthLake. Before data is ingested into HealthLake, FHIR data is subject to validation that follows the FHIR specification, for example. Internally and within HealthLake, we use Comprehend to extract existing medical information from a structured data set. Like if you have clinical note, that we can use Comprehend to extract those medical entities like ICD-10, RX norms, and PHI. So you can convert it into a FHIR resource and store it into HealthLake. This data is immediately available in HealthLake for queries. And also you can integrate other services. Like for example, you can integrate QuickSight, which is our visualization dashboard. So you can look at the patient cohort, you can look at the patient population, and also you can query what kind of medications patients are taking. You can generate queries on a patient cohort with specific medication or specific diagnostics. So it allows you to really explore your data, your healthcare data quickly using SQL queries, using the QuickSight, and you can build and train and deploy your ML model, machine learning model with SageMaker on the top of HealthLake. It's a seamless integration that can allow you to make your data available to your providers, to your customers, to your patients, but at the same time, you can generate insights so you can improve the patient outcome and also improve the provider workflows. So HealthLake enables ISV and providers like population health, healthcare equity, and readmission risk. So you can generate those insights. It enables payers as well for value-based care management, and risk adjustment. And of course, it enables life science organization for real-world evidence, clinical trial eligibility. For example, you can query for specific patients what kind of medication they are taking, what kind of outcomes they were able to achieve based on specific interaction with their providers. So that's basically HealthLake in a nutshell, and you can deploy, you can bring it up and running within 5 to 10 minutes max. The next service that I'm going to be talking about briefly is Amazon HealthLake Imaging. It allows you to store, analyze, and share medical imaging on the cloud at petabyte scale. The same thing with healthcare data. We generate a large number of medical images per year. This is just a study that was done. There are more than 3.6 billion imaging procedures per year. And the typical imaging study size has doubled over the past decade to an average of 150 megabytes. And digital pathology is on the horizon and will increase the storage need dramatically. Healthcare organizations have been asking AWS how we can help them manage the ever-growing of medical images because they take a lot of space and it's slow. With that, in response to this need, we launched Amazon Health Imaging, which is a service that allows you to store and easily manage those medical images at petabyte scale on the cloud. So basically, it's highly scalable, it's highly available, and based on the volume, it's going to grow. So you can store as many images as you want on the cloud. And working backward from our customers around medical images, we discovered that those organizations, they store multiple copies of the same images again and again. And this is due to basically the DICOM protocol, which is almost 30 years old, which uses a store and forward architecture. Because they store the copies, for example, on the CT scan, they move it to another intermediate storage, and from there they move it to another place, which means with health imaging, you can store the copy of the image once, which means you are saving on the cost. And also, it's not gonna, because syncing those images sometimes is a problem because you are storing them in multiple places. So it's gonna make it easier for you if you use health imaging because you start the image only once. You can update by adding new series or new instances. And also with the Amazon HealthLake, because of the storage cost, and storing that one copy can reduce your total cost of ownership by up to 40% using health imaging. Sub-second image retrieval, because we are doing compression on the image, you can retrieve the images in sub-second, which means it's latency. That's what our customers are telling us. I want to retrieve those images from anywhere, and you can view it anywhere in the world in under a second, even on a smartphone. And this is possible thanks to the art of lossless image compression technology and the high-speed, low-latency AWS global infrastructure provides. So it's basically storing one copy, reducing your cost of storing those medical images, and also making it available to PACS and to data science team and to providers. So some of the benefits of health imaging: it's reduced total cost of ownership, fast image access, automated infrastructure management. So basically, you don't have to manage infrastructure. We take care of everything behind the scene. You are leaving the heavy lifting to AWS, where you are focusing on the innovation, and everything is accessible through APIs. So here's how Amazon works. Basically, you start by staging your DICOM image in an S3 bucket, which is our object store, using one of the many S3 enabled products available from AWS and partners. Basically, if you have PACS and you have CT scan on-prem, you can use many of the options available either from AWS, from our partners, to accelerate delivery of those medical images to S3. And from there, AWS, we invoke an API on the health imaging side to import those DICOM data into AWS. Basically, you have images and you have the metadata on those images. And of course, because an API, you can make it available to others for authorized users to have accesses. Both services, HealthLake and imaging, they are HIPAA-eligible. So which means we follow the privacy and the regulatory requirement of different jurisdictions. Finally, your medical images can be accessed with sub-second speed from image viewing application and from our partners. And also you can make it available to your notebook, to your SageMaker, and to EML applications, so you can generate some insights from those images. Top use cases for health imaging: it's enterprise imaging vendors, like the example of Philips and other imaging vendors. EML, you can apply EML on top of those images to generate insights. And of course, is long-term image archival with S3 different tiering that we have. You can reduce the cost of storage, and because you are storing those images in a compressed format, so the storage cost is less, and also because you are storing only one copy of the image, is going to help you with the cost, and you can do long-term archival. And it's highly scalable, highly durable, and highly available. And of course, you can combine it. You can combine HealthLake, you can combine health imaging, and we have other purpose-built services like Omics and Transcribe Medical. You can combine all of that for multimodal analysis. Basically, you can get the FHIR resources, you can get HL7, you can get medical images, so you can really look at the patient as a whole 360 view, and you can generate insight from different data points. So that's for HealthLake, that's for health imaging, and now I'm going to pass it to Arun to talk about Transcribe Medical.
Thank you, Hassan. So quickly, from the clinical patient conversation and dictated medical notes to client calls and patient calls and the telemedicine, there is about 1.5 billion hours of medical audio data that's generated each year, right? And there is yet to be a very convenient, accurate, and scalable way to unlock all the insights that are potential from the data, the audio data that's generated. So leveraging a technology to mine the valuable information to drive better patient care, clinical workflow efficiency, and even improve the bottom line for healthcare providers, right? That's the opportunity out there. Now, what is Amazon Transcribe Medical? So it's a fully managed automatic speech recognition service. It's a state-of-art medical transcription powered by deep learning. And you don't really need any prior machine learning experience to use it, right? It is powered by deep learning by itself, and it is easy to use. Medical speech to text capabilities are inbuilt, and you can leverage APIs to build voice-enabled applications. Core benefits for the use cases include, number one, the accuracy, ease of use, and affordability. The key features to specifically call out, right? Of course, it does use English with Chinese and Indian accent, but then I wanted to call out key things that Amazon Transcribe Medical provides. It first supports transcription of medical conversation in various specialties, like primary care, cardiology, neurology, etc. And then the next thing is you could also customize it. It has the ability to use custom vocabularies to improve the transcription accuracy, right? So say you have specific things that you want to include, you could add them onto the custom vocabulary, the medical terms that your patient that comes across in your patient conversations and so on, right? The third thing is option to generate alternative transcriptions with confidence scores, right? So say the transcriptions that came out did not meet your expectations, there is also an opportunity to create an alternative transcription, and it gives you a confidence score comparing to what you had before versus what it is right now. It handles transcriptions of medical terms, measurements, say your cholesterol level is at this percent and so on, and then numbers also. It captures that accurately, right? So those are the key things I wanted to call out. Diving deep into how it works, right? So you can use Transcribe Medical in two ways, either to have real-time calls transcribed, or in batch mode where all your recordings are sent in a batch mode and it's transcribed. From a real-time transcription, you can stream the audio to Transcribe Medical using HTTP2 or WebSocket protocol and receive a continuous stream of transcription results. You can also send it to an S3 bucket for post-call analytics, right? And in case of batch streaming or in real-time streaming, you can also send it to your electronic health record systems, right? Where you intend to save them and store them. It's very straightforward. It's a fully managed service, so you can make your configurations. So once you upload your in batch mode, if you're uploading your WAV file or MP3 file, it gets ingested first, and then it gets into processing based on the configurations that you have selected predefined, right? And it processes the audio and gives you back a transcription file, right? Or a text stream in case of the real-time streaming. For batch mode, the asynchronous, that's typically in scenarios where there is a lot of medical notes that the provider needs to process in one shot. That's when the batch mode is used. And for real-time patient to doctor conversations, the clinical documentations, or in cases where you have a provider or payer call analytics scenario for your telemedicine, these are scenarios where we typically use the real-time streaming, right?
Hey, Arun, just
yep.
Maybe you could just go a little bit more into like the Gen AI behind this, so it's not just summarizing the product. You know, there are capabilities here where based on a simple diagnosis, or like, let's say someone at a doctor's office puts in a code, it'll automatically generate reports, might tie things together, tying together their medical history. Maybe if you could not just gloss over it, but just give a quick insights as to how things like Bedrock or other AWS features from an AI standpoint really make everything work more seamlessly and tie in different sources of data.
I think Nihir is going to go to that as well.
Yeah, that's the part that Nihir will cover. So he will dive deep into the AI part of how summarization and some of the AI capabilities have happened behind the scenes.
that's fine. I want to also make sure we have enough time within the hour.
Yep.
So Alex can really show how Clario uses all, not so much these broad-based features, but the AI
We'll dive
specific.
directly into Nihir's part. Nihir,
Yeah,
do you
okay.
want to get into?
Yes, thank you, Arun. So I'll just quickly high level give overview of what HealthScribe is, right? So if you think of HealthScribe, it's a Gen AI service, right? So it's a HIPAA-eligible Gen AI service that can take your audio and basically can generate transcripts, can summarize notes, can get clinical insights by analyzing, this patient clinical conversations, and this can be integrated into your clinical applications. Language model in a way that, yeah. Oh, sorry, was someone saying something?
No, it's good. Go for it.
Okay. Yeah, so this is different compared to like traditional large language model in a way that traditional large language model, they are not trained for a specific, clinical note summarization. So what HealthScribe can do is if you look at any clinician workflow, they basically take patient visit discussion and they basically put those in clinical notes in sections. So you have like sections like, chief complaint, you have section of like history of present illness, you have assessment section, you have plan sections, you have many sections in that. And that's what HealthScribe does. It basically auto-generate clinical notes using a single API, and it basically provides that in different sections. Now with Bedrock, what you can do is there are a lot of like large language models that comes as part of Bedrock. What Bedrock is not just a platform where you have just large language models, foundation models, but you have a platform. It's a platform where you can build agents, where you can build evaluation framework for your healthcare applications, Gen AI applications, right? And specifically in healthcare, so go to next slide, please. Specifically in healthcare and life science, we have seen various different use cases that we are working with customers around, R&D in life science, around clinical development, around manufacturing, around commercial and medical affairs, patient support. And I'll show you some of these examples later on, like, what are some of the examples that we have worked with customers. Similarly, on healthcare side, we have some Gen AI use cases that we have worked with customers. Next slide. So on Gen AI side, like on the healthcare side, like we have worked with multimodal data analysis. So like Hassan mentioned earlier regarding HealthLake for EHR data, health imaging for DICOM data, omics data for health omics or omics data, right? So you can basically use Gen AI that can do multimodal analysis on all of this multimodal healthcare data. You can also use Gen AI that can basically say, for example, hey, I have a patient. Can you go and fetch, medical imaging of that patient? So a Gen AI agent can understand your question and can go and fetch medical imaging of those patients. You can also ask a Gen AI, for example, to generate a radiology report from radiology images, whether they're 2D images or 3D images. So you can also interact with medical images in DICOM format using Gen AI. And I'll show you an example of that as well on the next slide. So on the next slide, we have like few examples of where we are using Gen AI. So for example, on the left-hand side, you have like HealthLake chatbot. So you can basically use Gen AI and you can interact with all of your EHR data using natural language. So for example, if I want to know, like in my cohort of patients, how many of them are female or how many of them have diabetes, right? So I can ask that kind of question and can do cohort analysis using Gen AI. And not just cohort, but if I want to look at like longitudinal view of a specific patient, I can also ask a Gen AI to create like summary of all the conditions that the patient has in longitudinal manner. So it can do that for me. Similarly, I can also use the services like Kendra and Bedrock to basically look at the informations on specific patient's medical notes, or I can also look at clinical trial information as well. On the next slide, you'll basically see, another example where we have clinical trial data. So on the next slide, you'll see that, how we can take clinical trial data and determine whether we have patients that are eligible for a clinical trial. So I can look at like, patients' demographic information. I can look at the clinical trial inclusion and exclusion criteria. And I can ask a Gen AI agent to see if this patient is going to match clinical trial and basically give me some kind of like estimation, like, how much it's going to match. Similarly, like on medical images side, on the next slide, you will see how we can take medical images, different modalities of medical images, and then use Gen AI to generate structured radiology report, right? So you can have a multimodal encoder. So encoder could, one of the encoder can take like medical images as input. It can take EHR data as an input, and then it can have decoder that can generate a structured radiology report, which is what you're seeing over here, where we are passing an X-ray image. And on the right-hand side, we see a structured radiology report as an output, where we have patient information, patient demographic information, the technique, the impression, the findings from those medical images. All of those are generated by this multimodal foundation model for radiology. The last thing that I want to add is that on this specific page, aiexplorer.aws.amazon.com, you will find a lot of Gen AI use cases that we have worked with customers focused in health and life science. So you can go there and you can filter all the Gen AI use cases, and you can also filter by industry. So you can filter by health and life science. So you'll find a lot more use cases over there.
Thank you, Nahir. And with that, if there are any questions, we can answer them, Ron. If not, we can pass it to Alex.